Everyone, welcome to the show. So, Trump is now threatening to harm a lot of his own constituents. He's threatening New York residents, and he just reneged on his promise to pay out SNAP benefits this month. As with the rest of MAGA, he absolutely doesn't realize he is screwing over a large percentage of his own voters. I have that story to share with you, or those two stories. I also have two different election takes about the elections going on today. These come from Republican operatives. So, first up is what Trump's now saying. So, he threatened New York residents if he doesn't get his way in today's New York mayoral race. On his failing social media site, show you what he wrote here. He wrote, if communist candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum as required to my beloved first home because of the fact that as a communist, this one great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm. And I don't want to send, as president, good money after bad. And then he goes on, say, oh, it's his obligation to run the nation. And this is just, he's doing what he needs to do. That, Mamdani is going to be an economic and social disaster. He says his principles have been tested for over 1,000 years and never once have they been successful. And so then he says he'd rather see, he doesn't name him, but he says he'd rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. So, first of all, can we just take a moment to say that is completely contradictory within that one sentence, right? He has no experience in Donald Trump's estimation or what he's saying, but then he says he has a record of being a complete and total failure. If he has no experience, how could he be a complete and total failure? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, he, goes on to repeat, oh, he has no chance of bringing back the city. He even slams his own Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, and says that, he looks better without his beret. And that, if you vote for him, it's a vote for Mamdani. So it has never, ever been more clear that Andrew Cuomo is a Trump shill, right? I mean, why would he tell you to vote for Andrew Cuomo over a Republican? That is insane in the membrane. So, I mean, it's not really, if you think about it, because yeah, Andrew Cuomo is the candidate of the billionaires. And that's all Donald Trump cares about. But on top of that, like I said, number one, his post doesn't make sense. Like that one sentence makes no sense whatsoever. But I truly believe, as I've said before, that Donald Trump and all of them are terrified that Mamdani is going to succeed. They are not afraid that he's going to fail. Because how much damage could he possibly do? Right? The city is already wildly unaffordable. People are moving out because they can't, average Americans are moving out because they can't afford it. How much worse could he make it? Right? And then to state the obvious, Donald Trump obviously thinks New York City is like Argentina. Because remember, he just threatened Argentina citizens and said, oh, well, I'm going to bail you guys out to the tune of 20 to 40 billion in American tax dollars, only if you vote for the candidate that I want you to vote for. So he thinks New Yorkers are going to do the same thing and cave. The problem for Trump, and I have said this before, a lot of Mamdani voters also voted for Trump. They just voted for him last year. We know this for a fact. This is why I think that Mamdani is going to do even better tonight than what we're seeing and what we saw in the primaries. Because as I've also mentioned before, a lot of these people, a lot of the voters who are planning to vote for him, who have said they're voting for him, we've seen a major, huge uptick in early voting from young voters who are going for Mamdani. And a lot of them, as I mentioned before, are registered Republicans. So they couldn't vote for him in the primary, but they are voting for him in the general because they can. So I think it is going to be a blowout. I hope that he gets over 50% because that will shut everybody up in the Democratic establishment and Republicans. If he can win a majority, I mean, he will have a clear and obvious mandate. So anyway, there's that Trump is now saying, oh, I'm going to screw over a bunch of the people who voted for me just last year, and now they're voting for Mamdani. Hope that works out for you, Trump. And then Trump is now also saying that he is not going to fund SNAP benefits until the government opens. So also on his failing social media site, he posted this, quote, SNAP benefits, which increased by billions and billions of dollars, manyfold, during crooked Joe Biden's disastrous term in office, due to the fact that they were haphazardly handed to anyone for the asking, as opposed to just those in need, which is the purpose of SNAP, will be given only when the radical left Democrats open up the government, which they can easily do, and not before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Why he capitalizes some words and not others is so bizarre to me. But who wants to tell him? Huh? Who wants to tell this lunatic that a large percentage of Trump voters are SNAP recipients? That is just a fact. That used to not be the case because the working class and the working poor used to vote more so for Democrats. But as we all know, a ton of them, the majority of them, have moved to the Republican Party in recent elections. So he is 100% going to screw over his own voters, his own supporters. Like I keep saying, I don't want to see people hurt, especially children. But this is what they voted for. This is what we warned was going to happen. Republican pollster, by the way, Frank Luntz, he's at least honest enough to admit what is going on and that the Republicans are in real trouble. So take a look. He was interviewed on CNN. This was last night. And he is calling it as he sees it. He is telling the truth about what's going down today. Check this out.
I believe that Republicans are going to have a bad day tomorrow. I do believe Democrats win the governorship in New Jersey and Virginia. A socialist is going to be elected mayor of New York. I believe that the shutdown is politically motivated. I believe that if they wanted to, they could find common ground, but they choose not to. And that has hurt the Republican brand, the Republican reputation. Their numbers are down because we're reaching a breaking point, and it's coming. And after that breaking point, who knows? Who can predict what happens when the public finally says, to hell with you all? And that's where we're heading right now.
So it cut off, but he said that's where we're heading right now. Now, he did throw some shade at the Democrats as well. He did say, oh, they're being hurt even more by the shutdown. No. I mean, that is just factually incorrect. Based on polling, based on focus groups that I've listened to, a lot of people are blaming both parties, but by and large, Polling on this is very clear that the majority of Americans are blaming the Republicans. And it's clear cut, right? Because they had no problem cutting taxes for the wealthy, the people who get away with murder with taxes as it is, and get, they get to exploit all kinds of loopholes and take home and keep more money than your average teacher or your average police officer or firefighter, but yet they don't want to re-up or the funds to pay for the ACA subsidies, which they could easily do. Now, there's supposedly some dialogue going on. I guess a bipartisan group is working on that as I speak and talking about maybe doing like a 2-year extension. So, of course, they're going to put it on the backs of Democrats if Democrats take over the House in the midterms, which is looking more and more likely. But yeah, we'll see. As of now, yeah, people are being hurt. And if you are a Trump voter and you're hate watching this right now, just understand there's funds. It's not enough to cover all of it, but there is money. There's $5 billion, I believe it is, or whatever the amount, million or billion, set aside for emergencies like this. They could release that immediately and help to fund SNAP. Judges have ruled that Donald Trump needs to do that. So number one, he is violating court orders, violating what the court said, in forcing him to release that money. And second, he is screwing you over, MAGA voter. He does not care if your children have enough to eat. This is all a game to him. And people say, oh, well, Democrats are playing a game. They're the ones that aren't funding the government. They're the ones caught. Okay, here's the thing. As a Democrat, if I was in Congress, my thought process would be, look, we have food banks that can help to fill the gaps, right? Maybe not enough, but there are food banks out there where people can get help when it comes to feeding themselves and their family. There is nothing to protect people who lose their health care. If you are someone out there who, God forbid, you have a major disease, you maybe have cancer, and now your insurance premiums are going to double or triple within the next couple of months, what the hell do you do? It is literally life or death for some people. They don't have a stopgap. There isn't a health insurance bank out there where they can go and fulfill their needs and still get treatment for their disease or their illness. So yeah, health insurance, I'm sorry, takes precedence over funding SNAP. It just does. So anyway, Republican Karl Rove, he sees all of this very differently. He is just telling his audience, I think, what they want to hear. He said, oh, Chitterelli in New Jersey, in that race, he's going to be a beneficiary of the Trump bump that we saw last year. So many more New Jerseyans went for Trump. He's going to benefit. They're going to go for him. He also thinks that we're going to have this shock win in Virginia and that Abigail Spanberger is going to lose, and somehow Winsome Earl Sears, who's like a total hot mess, is going to win. Now, personally, let me be the first to say this. Fuck Abigail Spanberger. Fuck her. And here's why I say that. She was just interviewed, and instead of being, the bigger person, she was asked about Zohran Mamdani. And instead of saying, you know what, he's a Democrat and he's doing really well and, good for him and backing him up, no, she had to take shots at him. She had to try to shoot him down. she made the comments that, well, I just don't believe in promising people things that you can't deliver on. And, I don't believe in lying to the voters and blah, blah, blah. Why did she feel it necessary to do that? Could it be because he's doing better than her? Could it be because she's jealous that she has had this lackluster candidacy and campaign and she's barely going to win in a state that supposedly she was just made for as the, made in the lab candidate of a centrist Democrat? Why did she feel the need to do that? So yeah, fuck her. And this is what pisses me off with the establishment Democrats. They can say whatever the hell they want about progressive candidates, and nobody attacks them. Nobody accuses them of undermining their own party. But if a progressive has a critique of a standard issue, centrist, establishment, corporate owned, Israel lobby owned Democrat, oh, everybody's up in arms. Oh, why are you helping the Republicans? Why are you saying something negative about a fellow Democrat? Oh, you're just helping Trump. Fuck you. No, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. If you don't like it, then don't do it. So I'm done with that shit. I am absolutely done with it. And like I said, fuck Spanberger. Anyway, as for Mamdani, Karl Rove said, quote, in New York, we're going to get the gift that keeps on giving. We're going to have a Democratic socialist mayor who wins in the low 50s or mid 50s in a city where 62% of the eligible voters are registered Democrats, 22% are registered independents, and only 16% are Republicans, conservatives, or members of little fringe left-wing parties. So again, just like I said about Trump, they're clueless. They're absolutely clueless about the Mamdani coalition. I think when all of this shakes out and we have all the numbers on all of this and we can see exactly who voted for him and the demographics and the party alliances, I think they are going to eat crow big time. I think that it's going to be it's going to be, in my estimation, could be wrong. Like I said yesterday, there's a first time for everything. But I think it's going to be like a political earthquake. I think people are going to, in the Democratic establishment and the Republican Party, I think they are going to have a big old wake-up call. So we'll see. This next bit of news, this proves that MAGA knows that Republican candidates are in trouble, because whenever they can't win legitimately, what do? They take extreme violent measures, kind of like what we saw on January 6th. Take a look at this. So there were bomb threats today, just like we saw in last year's election. Bomb threats called in to various counties in New Jersey. So it was Bergen County, Essex County, Mercer County, Middlesex County, Monmouth County, Ocean County, and Passaic County. One entire school district had to shut down because they had some polling locations at one or two of the schools within that district. And so they were so freaked out and so afraid of what might happen, they shut the entire school district down for the day. And then several other voting sites had to be shut down, or they had to move them temporarily. Some were temporary, some were permanent. This is what they do, guys. This is exactly what they do. The Republicans know they can't win based on merit, based on policy, based on Donald Trump's abysmal record and what he's doing right now. So we're going to call in bomb threats. So, I would hope that these people would be arrested for this and that they'd pay dearly and, get long sentences. But given who's in charge right now, Maybe state officials will take issue and hold them to account, but can we count on the federal government to do that? No, no. And I want to share with you too. This is something that I just heard before I started recording. So I was listening to MSNBC's live coverage of the elections. And in New Jersey in particular, Donald Trump has pissed off a lot of Hispanic voters who went for him last year. So I mentioned this yesterday, but there were a couple of people who were interviewed by Alicia Menendez over on MSNBC. And one woman, she is Hispanic. She did not vote last year, didn't vote for Trump, didn't vote for anyone. She stayed home. She told Alicia Menendez she regrets that choice, and she came out specifically to vote for the Democrat in the race because of what Donald Trump is doing with immigration and deportations. She actually broke down crying. There was another man who Alicia Menendez had interviewed. They didn't show him, but he voted for Trump last year, another Hispanic man. He came out today to vote for Mikey Sherrill in the governor's race because of immigration as well. So Donald Trump, this is, we've been seeing his polling is just pathetic. It is just tanking so hard, going downhill, especially with minority voters, because they're realizing what did I do? Like I always call it, the talking heads realization of, oh my, what have I done? Letting the days go by. Like, oh my God, what have I done? Anyway, that's where they're at. That's where this is all at. So I am expecting a lot of surprise tonight in the results, and in a good way for Democrats. And I think that this is going to be a giant wake-up call for the MAGA Republican Party. And if Congress members do not understand where things are headed in the midterms, I don't know what to even say. They're either the biggest cowards, which we already know they are, but they're either the biggest cowards or the biggest fools or both. I'm going to go with C. I'm going to go with both. Because they refuse to stand up to Trump. They refuse to do what's right for the country, and they're going to pay for it. So we'll see. They've been fine with it hurting other people. We'll see if they go down the typical MAGA path, like what we see in the FAFO videos, where if it's going to affect them, all of a sudden now they're going to start caring and doing something about it. Like I said, we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. Also, I will be over on the This Space channel on YouTube tonight, starting at 4 p.m. or this afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific time, this evening on the East Coast, 7 p.m. East Coast time. So go, please check us out over there. It's going to be a live stream. We're going to be doing election night coverage and celebrating, hopefully, when all of the Democrats win, even though I'm pissed off at Abigail Spamberger. Anyway, I will be co-hosting starting again at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to head over there. Thisspace.tv is what it's called, and it's on YouTube as well. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.